Will Robinson here from Robinson's Auto, toolsofthetime.com. Welcome back. Today in the shop we have this 98 Dodge Dakota Sport. You may recognize this vehicle from a previous video when we did the upper control arms. Well, it's back today for a state inspection. He actually brought it to another place for the inspection because I was a little busy at the time, and they noticed that the reverse lights were not working, and they wanted to throw in a little toggle switch, and at that point he was like, yeah, you know what, I think I'll pass on that. So it's here today, and we're gonna see what exactly is going on. They told him that it was too extensive of a repair to get the reverse lights working. So I find that hard to believe, but I've seen this stuff happen in the past, and I've seen people go to this extent. So I figured, even though it should be a pretty straightforward repair, I'm gonna bring you along just to show you that most times it's quicker just to fix it right. You don't wanna be putting these toggle switches in and everything, because then you just create more problems. So we're gonna take a look at the wiring schematic, and then we're gonna jump in and see what's going on. I printed up the wiring schematic in relation to the reverse lights. And as you can see, there really isn't all that much incorporated. We got a fuse. It's a good starting point. We could go and find where this fuse number 2 is located. It's a 15 amp. So it would be this one right here. Looks like it'll be this fuse right there. Find yourself a good ground. Most likely that's a good ground. You might have to, yeah, so it appears that it's probably ignition feed. Yep, and as you see, it is ignition feed. Ignition on. That fuse is good. Where do we go next? We follow that down. This is a manual transmission, but you can see where I'm trying to end up. So we could just reverse trace this manual transmission. And as you can see, then once we get down here to the reverse light switch, you see we come down here. I don't have the rest of the circuit printed up. However, it goes to another joint connector and just keeps on going back. And what I like to do is follow the potential voltage through the circuit until we lose it. So what I would do is, we verify the fuse is good. I'll find my next easiest point of reference, and that would most likely be the backup lamp switch, which is located on the transmission, and see if we have power present. I'm going to leave the key on because we know it needs power to that fuse number 2, and in order to have power there, the key has to be on. Next, I'm going to take and put the vehicle in reverse, verify that the reverse lights are not working at the moment. Anything?
Nope.
Then we're going to take and raise the vehicle up. So you come under the vehicle on the driver's side, on the left side of the transmission, towards the tail, you'll see where the linkages are, and then right in front of the bracket, you'll see that connector. That's your reverse light switch. So we're going to take and we're going to unplug that next. Okay, so we have a purple, and then we have something in green. Brown and light green wire at the reverse light switch. So what color was it? Brown and light green?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is. So this one on my left. Next, I got to find a good ground. This stud right here looks like it'll probably be a good ground on the slave cylinder. Now we're going to take and lightly front probe. Whenever you front probe, you don't want to go jamming it in there, you know? You just want to lightly touch it. As you see, the test light illuminates. So that's indicating we do have power present. What I could do is plug it back in, back probe that connector on the opposing conductor, and see if we have power going through the switch. Or I could simply take a little shortcut here, and all that switch does is complete the path from one conductor to the next. So as you've seen on the back side of the connector, we have the two conductors coming out, and then we have where it plugs in. we have power on one side, and we should, as long as it's in reverse, this thing should be closed, and we should have power coming out the other side. So I could back probe it here, and we should have power present as long as the switch is good. Or I could just skip that step while we have it unplugged and actually put a jumper wire or just like a paper clip or anything and just jump them 2 wires, taking this switch completely out of the equation, and at that point seeing if the reverse lights come on, because remember we have the ignition on and we also have it in reverse at the time and the lights aren't lit up. So we could eliminate this switch altogether right away by putting a jumper wire in there. Essentially what this is doing is just putting a jumper across when you put it in reverse. So we're gonna bypass this per se. Okay, so I just have a simple jumper wire here. So you want to make sure you don't touch it on anything different like ground, because you don't want to go popping your fuse. So if I can see, remember, bottom, left. So I'm just going to take and put one of the conductors in that. So this side isn't powered at this point. But as soon as I touch this other one, you see those little bit of sparks coming out? That means there's a load on that circuit somewhere. So I'm going to take and put that wire in there like so. Let's go see if the reverse lights are on. What do you got? Anything?
Yep, they're on.
Okay. Plug it in, unplug, in, unplug. Working every time?
Yep.
Okay, so what does that tell you?
Switch is bad.
And what makes you come to that conclusion?
Because you jumped it out and it worked.
Okay, so we pretty much bypassed the switch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it seems like a 7/8 deep socket. Fits it pretty well. Okay, let's see if we get this to, there she goes. Usually when you break these loose, you're good to go. No fluid at that point. All right, come down here, Tammy. So here's our switch. As you see, it has this little ball on it. And that should be closing and completing our circuit. And sometimes if you take and you push these in a little bit, it'll work a little better, but we'll find out. Let's plug it back in. I'm going to push it in like that, and Tammy's going to go in the back and see if the reverse lights come on. On?
Nope.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay, that switch must be shot. We're going to plug the new one in. Just like so. I'm going to push in on the switch. You ready?
We're ready. Yep.
Alright, let's put the switch in. Okay. This switch comes with a little sealant on it already. So we're going to take it and we're going to put it up there. Run it in by hand as far as we can. Okay, run it in. And just give her a little extra snug. And that's good. I'm going to plug it in. And we should be able to verify the repair almost instantly. Okay, so it's plugged in. Mr. Chamber. Lights on?
No.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Well, maybe we are not in reverse. Because those lights should be on.
Brake lights are on.
Going backwards.
Yeah.
Okay guys, I'm not gonna melt no crumbs here. I'm gonna show you what I had to do. Not that I had to do it. I most likely could have just said, give me my money back, I'm going somewhere else, getting another reverse light switch. However, I don't believe there's anything mechanically wrong with this switch. I believe it's, well, it was pretty clear to me that the difference was the depth at which this bottomed out inside the transmission to the tip of this ball. There was a noticeable difference in the first one. I pulled it out and the switch was like down here. So I could see like a noticeable 1/16 of an inch difference between the tip of this ball. Like if you were to, I wish I would have captured it, but it would be like laying this across the tip and there was a noticeable difference, right? So I'm like, all right, maybe that's our problem because the linkage isn't throwing enough to push this far enough in to complete the contacts. So I'm like, okay, that's a noticeable difference. Tammy ran it back, she exchanged it, and they swapped it out for us. She brought it back, I lined it up, I'm like, same thing, it was down like a 1/16 of an inch. I'm like, I bet you this is gonna do the same exact thing. So I put this one in before I did what you're gonna see me do here in a second, and it still didn't work. So then I'm like, all right, I gotta prove a point to myself at this point. So I chucked it in a lathe. And I machined the aftermarket one to the same. So we're right there now. And we're gonna chuck this in and we're gonna see if this works. I didn't see if there was a lot number on this. Maybe it's just one lot number that's messed up, like a run of them. Okay, you got the key on?
Yep, he's on.
Reverse. Neutral. Reverse. Neutral. Reverse. Abracadabra. 2 out of 2. I'm not going to take a third try on that one. So we went to our friends over here at Napa. We're going to give hopefully 3 times as a charm, and this is going to be the ticket. This is just about there, the closest one we have found so far. I think what we're seeing, and I don't know, I even went to one more vendor over at National Auto Parts, and I measured it, and it was identical to this one. It had a black plug. But I just don't know, guys. I'm thinking, even if I went to the OEM vendor, what is OEM these days? Something with this vintage from 1998. Do you really think that the original equipment manufacturer is still manufacturing that sensor? Or do you think that's been outsourced? Or there's a very good chance that it's made by the same person and repackaged, rebranded. This takes dedicated machinery, dedicated run hours, and dedicated time to produce this sensor or this switch or anything in that manner. So that's a whole different topic. Let's put this in and see what happens. I think this one's gonna work. I may be right, I may be crazy, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. There you go, Diagnosed Dan. That's an inside joke. He asked me if I would sing in a band or do I play an instrument. I told him, well, I had some lessons when I was younger on the guitar. But you'd probably be better off trying to let me sing, even though I can't really do either one well. Keon? One more time, reverse for these guys. Nice. You can turn the key off. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Well, there you go, guys. Quick and easy. Well, a little more work than what was needed. You know, it just seems like so much of a waste of time because I believe the manufacturing of that switch is not correct. It's a few thousandths off, probably darn near a 16th. It's pretty far off. And that's what we're running into. On something this age of a vehicle, like we talked about before, where does that line get re-raced? When do those parts become outsourced and almost every switch is made by the same manufacturer? Or just a select few and then private labeled into the packages once again? I don't know. Coming from an industrial field, I do see how that stuff works, and I see it often all around. Till next time, guys, stay tuned.